It probably comes as no surprise to regular viewers that I'm an idiot. Some time ago I upgraded the bike's suspension by installing a YSS shock absorber. The standard rear shock's not all that bad, but I've had the bike for a few years, so I thought it needed a birthday. I'm a 100 kilo lump of lard, so I thought it wise to buy the heavier spring for the shock. Well, time has proven that the heavier spring is just way too stiff. On long rides it really just doesn't provide that plushness that I was looking for. Of course, during my initial farting around with the shock absorber, I also ruined the locking nut. Oh dear, I certainly am an idiot. So for the last couple of months, I've had the standard shock back on the bike. But I've now bit the bullet and addressed the problem. That's right, I've ordered and received the standard spring for the shock absorber. And being the tight mongrel that I am, I'm going to give it a go to replace the spring myself. I only decided to share my stupidity after already taking the old spring off. And this is how it comes apart. It's just a locking ring that holds the spring in. Once the spring's compressed, that ring comes off and the spring slides out. And here's the new one. The springs look very similar, but the heavier one has got a 180 on it and the standard one has a 150 on it. Alright, so let's get that old spring off and put the new one on. But first, let's have a look at how this thing is put together. There's a hydraulic spring preload adjuster that just slides off. But then there's two sort of screwy things. There's an angled one, and then there's the lock nut at the top. Now that lock nut at the top was the one that I ruined. Fortunately, I was able to build a new one on the lathe, so this new one looks alright. But I can now see that there was no way that I could have adjusted the standard preload on the spring without pulling everything apart. Let's have a look at my spring compressor. I've never had any success with normal spring compressor type units on motorcycle springs, so quite a long time ago I built this one using a hydraulic jack. It's certainly not pretty, and I could certainly build something a bit nicer these days, but it still does the job, so I'm not going to bother. These motorcycle springs are extremely difficult to compress, and I've never had any success with normal spring compressors that you use on a car, for example. Anyway, I can get the spring in there with the hydraulic jack onto the underneath, and then just put a bracket on top to hold those two side plates, and then Bob's your uncle. Start jacking away, hopefully. The jack's not really in the middle, and that's not ideal, but I just can't be bothered getting it right. I think this will work just as it is, so let's give it a try. This is a 4-ton rated hydraulic jack, and it's doing a bit of work to get that spring compressed. Of course, it wouldn't be quite so bad if it was jacking it completely straight. Oh well. Oh poo, I forgot to put the washer in. And now, because it's not straight, I can't get it in, so rats. I'm going to have to let a bit of pressure off the jack so that I can get that washer back down. Right, that's better. Let's try again. Alrighty then. I think we're just about there and we can slide in. Yes, that slides in alright. But of course it doesn't line up because the whole thing isn't completely straight. But nothing like a bit of gentle persuasion. Let the jack off. No, still not good enough. I'm not strong enough. Alright, nothing like a lever. Aha! Success. All that remains now is to extract it from this big ugly contraption and then fit it onto the bike. I have to say that's a relief. It's always a bit of a worry trying to get those springs in. No wonder sensible people take it to an expert to get done properly. But as they say, it's the end result that counts, and the end result is perfect. I'll get my expert assistant to just measure the static and active sag on the standard shock before I put the new one in, just to see whether the new one's anywhere near it. Here's the old shock extracted. You can see how much longer the spring is. The travel's exactly the same, but the spring is completely different. This shock has rebound damping adjustment only, and I've got it on 12 clicks in from a possible 32. This is a pure guess, but a test ride will see whether it's anywhere near it. We both hopped on our bikes and did about a 100k loop just to test out the rear shock. It felt better immediately, but I was withholding judgment until we'd run a bit further along the road. With the correct spring, the damping is much more noticeable. It's way better than the standard shock, even though the standard shock isn't that bad. Well, that is a relief. It didn't turn out to be all that difficult. It was a little bit of a challenge to make the new aluminium locking ring on the lathe, but I succeeded in that as well. So, feeling really good about myself. And so I'm waiting for the next idiot moment.